Hi, everybody. This is the comic book guy, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the people's champion. Your host, hi, and welcome back to the comic book hut, and hopefully you like this video. So, the one thing about being an adult is when you make a mistake on things, you make a mistake with things, you're able to sort of say, I made a mistake, and you move on. Well, not with Marvel, and not with, obviously, Kevin Feige, because they're pointing the finger right back at the mouse at Disney. Here from Phantom Pulse, Marvel blames Disney for recent film and TV failures. Uses same excuses as Star Wars. Uh-oh. Marvel executives and employees are blaming the Walt Disney Company for its recent film and TV failures. An expose in the Wall Street Journal claims that Marvel Studios boss Kevin Feige is putting the blame on Bob Iger and executives at Marvel's parent company, the Walt Disney Company, for the studio's recent failures. Specifically, Feige is blaming Disney for forcing them to churn out as much content as possible for its Disney Plus streaming service. But here's the thing. There's so much content with Marvel. Why are you turning out the garbage of the last 15 years that nobody likes? Doesn't make any sense. According to the report, Feige believes all of this content overwhelmed and alienated viewers. Furthermore, the team was allegedly stretched, and this diluted the quality of their output. Aww. It even claims that Feige agreed to the plan because of a zealousness to tell more stories and a desire to be an excellent corporate citizen. But again, why are you telling the stories of the last 15 years? There's so many stories you could tell. Of like 70 years, 80 years, but you use the last 15 years, which is garbage. As for the studio being stretched, it claims that Feige was the first decision maker for each Disney Plus show the studio was creating, and that he would overturn weeks of work with little to no time to implement the changes before the show needed to meet the deadlines. The report even claims staffers chased him down the hallways in order to get answers. Oh, he's one of these people. To this point, Secret Invasion director Ali Selim informed Insider back in 2023 that his show was being cobbled together in the editing room as they were releasing new episodes every week. He was asked, from what other Marvel directors and actors have said, sometimes things in the scripts change at the last minute or the day of filming. What was your experience like for Secret Invasion? How closely did it follow all the scripts, and how much room was there for improvisation or adjustments? He responded, I don't want to play seismic games, but I think of it as an evolution. As you hunt down story, everything is constantly evolving, and it's a fascinating process. I guess there are moments of improv, like between Sam and Don, between Sam and Ben. There are really rich moments of improv. There are actors who rely more on the script. And I think as we're editing, we're still finding the story, he continued. We were finding the story on episode 6 up until episode 1 had already aired. That's part of the beauty of it, is that Marvel just keeps hunting it down and using the resources they have to come up with the best story possible, and the quest never ends. But meanwhile, the story sucks. If your basis, in which you get the stories from, the ground floor sucks, the whole house is going to collapse. Disney CEO Bob Iger also previously spun this narrative during a New York Times Deal Book Summit interview. He said, in our particular case, and specifically about some of those films, they were not as good, not as high in quality as some of their predecessors or films, and as they should have been, particularly in this environment. He explained, well, the Marvels was shot during COVID. There wasn't as much supervision on the set, so to speak, where we have executives there really looking over what's being done day after day after day. And that was a result of mostly of COVID. But at the same time, we increased our output tremendously to feed the streaming platforms. Too much, by the way. Definitely a mistake. But here's the thing. Nobody wanted the Marvels, okay? You had Captain Marvel. You do the first Captain Marvel movie, okay? Most people didn't like it. Most people didn't like it because of the sort of girl power, and people don't like Brie Larson. She didn't have much charisma as an actress on camera. All right? And people just didn't resonate with that character. People don't really think of Carol Danvers as that. And they did the version that people didn't like over the last 10, 15 years. People like the version before that. But instead of like doing something before that, they did this. And then they introduced the Kamala Khan Miss Marvel. They didn't get the Monica Rambeau character right. It's just not great. Quality needs attention to deliver quantity. Let me say this. Quality needs attention to deliver quality. I go continued. It doesn't happen by accident. And quantity, in our case, diluted quality, and Marvel suffered greatly from that. So there are different reasons. And I'm the first. I've been very public about it, and I would say right now my number one priority is to help the studio turn around creatively. But here's the thing. When they did the last movie with the Avengers, Endgame, they said, that's it. That's all the great stories you're going to get. And then they were going to like put out their garbage after that. They told us this. So this sort of backtracking on what's going on now, it's just a distraction from what they have done. You see what I'm saying? You know what I mean? The Wall Street Journal report then trotted out the tired fatigue narrative and randomly cited a 23-year-old social media manager named Leslie Rodriguez, who said, I'd loved it for so many years, but after the TV shows and everything, it just started getting a little confusing all over the place. That's what it's been like the last 15 years at Marvel. Not everything was great, okay, on the TV shows. Agent Carter wasn't great, okay? S.H.I.E.L.D. had its moments. Well, here's the thing about Agent Carter. Agent Carter was okay until they put Haley Atwell in that yellow dress and the yellow wig and made her look like she was 400 pounds. Okay? And S.H.I.E.L.D. was only good when they had Ghost Rider on, and they souped up the all the sort of effects on that show. Because that one season with Ghost Rider, with the Robbie Reyes Ghost Rider, was great. It was absolutely great. And then after that, it sucked. It sucked before that, it sucked after that. Quite frankly. It continued stating, employees talk regularly about Marvel fatigue. They worried they had created a no new fans club, which people unfamiliar with the state of the MCU couldn't watch a new release because they have no idea what was going on. No, of course not. And nobody knows what's going on in Marvel Comics at all. And that's been the problem there as well. So the problem that they had in Marvel Comics, they put it into the MCU. So why are you looking at problematic stories that nobody can relate to and put it there? I'll give you another example. This is a small example. Now, I didn't see the Defenders streaming show. But they're really not the first version of the Defenders. Okay? The first version of the Defenders is the Hulk, Namor, Silver Surfer, and, of course, Doctor Strange. They didn't do that. I think you could have gotten away with a lot of stuff if you'd taken that concept and put it into the movies. I think people would be very excited for that. They didn't do that. And then they finally introduced Namor as some kind of Aztec fish man. Basically what he is, right? However, as pop culture critic Gary Buchler, the host of Neurotic, says, quote, and that's the spin, there's just too much stuff, which is utter BS. Being kind, if a little over half of Disney Marvel stuff over the last few years had been pretty good, we wouldn't be talking about a hard reset again. And then they're going back to the arsonist to put out the fire, Kevin Feige. I mean, Kevin, it's typical. When everything's going great, he's patting himself on the back. Everybody's saying, you're a genius, this and that. And then when things don't, then he starts making bad decisions because he's doing decisions based off of recent Marvel. He starts pointing fingers. No, that's my boss. Who does that? Who does? I mean, really, who says that their boss is at fault? Openly, by the way. I mean, there's more to this article than just obviously Disney and Marvel, but there's stuff going on with Star Wars. We don't need to get into that, but the point being is if you're an adult, like I said at the beginning of this video, if you make a mistake, you own up to it. But people like Kevin Feige, guys like Bob Iger, have basically a message of, they're puppets of the global system. And they have to, denounce everything they can that's made society and Western civilization great. That's, America and men. And they have to do that. They have to. That's who they are. And if they don't, well, I'm sure there's something in their past that could get thrown out there by some intrepid, insane reporter that'd be more than willing to sort of shame these people and shut them up. And the best these guys can do is just point fingers at each other and blame fingers and point fingers at the fans as well. Well, thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe to the Comic Book Hut. Have a good day, and I'll see you later.